Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You know, there's a story that shows up in almost every ancient culture on Earth. It doesn't matter if you're looking at Gilgamesh or the Bible or Hindu mythology. You always find it.
The flood myth.
The flood myth, the great reset button.
Exactly.
And the story is always the same. Humanity is going about its business, building cities, arguing, falling in love, and then seemingly out of nowhere, a giant wave just sweeps everything away.
The world is destroyed and then it's remade. And the scary part is that the people involved, they never see it coming until the water is, at their ankles.
It's a terrifying image. And for the source material we're unpacking today, that isn't just a metaphor.
No, it's a very specific prediction for our immediate future.
Today we are diving into The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleyman. And before we get into the doom, and let's be honest, there's a fair bit of doom in this one, we should probably establish who Suleyman is.
Right, because the world is full of tech pundits right now.
It is.
But Suleyman is in a completely different weight class. I mean, He isn't just writing from the sidelines. He co-founded DeepMind,
which was acquired by Google.
Right, and later Inflection AI. He was in the room where it happened. He helped build the most advanced AI systems in human history.
So when he says a flood is coming, he's basically talking about his own creation.
He is. And the mission for this deep dive is really to unpack what that flood looks like. Suleyman argues we are facing this convergence of technologies, specifically AI and synthetic biology, that's as fundamental as, say, the discovery of fire.
That is a massive claim. I mean, we've had the printing press, the steam engine, the internet. Why does he think this wave is so unique? Why isn't this just the Industrial Revolution 2.0?
It comes down to the nature of the tool. Think about the Industrial Revolution. We built machines for physical work, levers for our muscles.
Steam engines, tractors.
Exactly. What Suleyman calls the wave is different because we're building levers for our minds and for life itself.
He calls this the rise of Homo technologicus.
Right. We're defined by our tools. But the wave isn't just one gadget. It's this whole cluster of technologies defined by being fast, becoming incredibly cheap, and being universally accessible.
And that trifecta, that's what creates what he calls a containment problem.
Yes.
Okay, let's dig into that cheap and accessible part. Because usually, superweapons are expensive. You need a Manhattan Project to build a nuke.
Right. You need a state budget, an aircraft carrier. Yeah. That era is over. Suleyman points to what he calls a Cambrian explosion of capabilities. It's not just AI on a screen.
It's AI plus robotics plus synthetic biology.
All converging at once.
Synthetic biology, that's the engineering life part.
Exactly. And this is where the cheap factor gets genuinely terrifying. He gives this specific example in the book that really stuck with me. A few decades ago, modifying DNA was something you could only do in a top-tier government lab.
With millions of dollars of equipment.
And a whole team of PhDs. And today, you can go online and buy something called the Odin kit. It costs about $19.99. It's a genetic engineering kit that ships to your house.
So you can literally modify the DNA of frogs or crickets in your garage.
In your garage.
$2,000? I mean, that's less than a decent gaming laptop.
It's nothing. So just pause and think about that trajectory. We've democratized the ability to edit the source code of life.
And Suleyman asks us to just fast forward 10 years. What happens when that garage kit is combined with an AI assistant that knows every viral genome in history and can design a pathogen?
It's a very sobering thought. It's not just a glowing frog anymore.
This leads us directly into the 4 features of the wave. He argues there are 4 characteristics that make this tech almost impossible to police. I think we should walk through these.
Sure. The first one, and we just touched on it, is asymmetry.
The idea that small groups can now punch way, way above their weight class.
Drastically so. In the past, to destroy a city, you needed an army, a navy. Now, or very soon, you might just need a laptop, a biolab, and, a grudge.
State-level damage is trickling down to individuals.
Yeah.
It's the democratization of destruction.
Yeah. And the second feature?
Hyperevolution.
This is unique to AI. A steam engine didn't wake up one morning and design a better steam engine.
But we're using AI to design better chips.
Which run more powerful AI, which then design even better chips. It's a recursive feedback loop. It moves faster than human regulation can possibly keep up.
By the time a government drafts a law for a specific model, that model is already 3 generations obsolete.
We're legislating at biological speed while the tech evolves at silicon speed.
Okay, so asymmetry, hyperevolution. The third one he lists is omni-use.
Which is the dual-use problem, but on steroids. A knife can cut onions or it can kill someone, right?
Right.
But AI is the ultimate omni-use tool. The exact same algorithm that scans molecules to cure cancer can be asked to scan for toxic compounds to create a nerve agent.
And the software doesn't know the difference.
No, it has no idea. The underlying intelligence is neutral. It's just solving a puzzle. You can't build a safe version because the capability to help is identical to the capability to harm.
And the fourth feature, this is the one that really feels like science fiction. Autonomy.
This is the game changer. Suleyman talks about that famous AlphaGo match against Lee Sedol. In Game 2, the AI made Move 37.
I remember this. The commentators thought the computer had glitched, didn't they?
They did. They thought it was a bug. It was a move that no human Go master would ever play. It looked like a total mistake.
But it wasn't.
10 moves later, everyone realized it was a stroke of alien genius. It won the game. That move proved the tool wasn't just mimicking humans. It had its own agency. It was creative.
So we are moving toward autonomous drones, autonomous code, agents that can execute complex goals without a human in the loop.
And when you combine those four: asymmetry, hyperevolution, omni-use, and autonomy, you get a wave that is incredibly powerful, cheap everywhere, and can act on its own.
It's a recipe for chaos. And this brings us to one of the most disturbing parts of the book, the erosion of state power.
Right. We operate under what's called the grand bargain.
Right.
We give up some freedom, we pay taxes, and in exchange, the government protects us.
Because the state has a monopoly on force. They have the tanks, the jets.
But the Waze just fractures that bargain. It introduces what he calls fragility amplifiers. Suddenly, the state doesn't have a monopoly on force anymore.
He uses the war in Ukraine to illustrate this, and I thought it was a brilliant, real-time example.
It's the perfect case study. He talks about a Ukrainian unit called Aerozvidka. These weren't soldiers, they were IT guys, drone hobbyists.
Right.
And they used commercial drones toys you buy for $200,
Yeah.
modified them, and used them to drop grenades on tanks.
A $200 toy taking out a multi-million-dollar Russian tank.
Or forcing the enemy to use a $3 million Patriot missile to shoot down a drone that costs less than a microwave. That's the cost of power, just plummeting.
A massive deflation in the cost of lethality.
Exactly. And if a hobbyist group can do that in the physical world, what happens when that asymmetry hits the digital world?
That's when he brings up cyber warfare. WannaCry, not Petya.
Attacks that cause billions in damages, froze global shipping, shut down hospitals, and you don't need a massive military-industrial complex for that. You just need code.
So we're moving toward a world of national emergency 2.0, where the state can't actually guarantee your safety because the threat isn't a foreign army.
No, it's a kid in a basement,
Right.
or just a rogue piece of code. It's a world where offense becomes much easier and cheaper than defense.
Now, up to this point, we've been talking about the wave like it's magic code in the cloud. But Suleyman makes a really important pivot. He reminds us that all this stuff has a physical address.
This is the compute divide, and frankly, it's the most fascinating part of the geopolitics here. AI feels ethereal, but it lives on very expensive, very rare physical hardware.
The chips.
The chips. Suleyman describes the supply chain for advanced AI as a series of choke points. You might write the code in San Francisco, but that code runs on chips designed by NVIDIA,
Which are manufactured almost exclusively by TSMC in Taiwan.
using lithography machines made by one single company, ASML, in the Netherlands.
I think people really underestimate how rare these machines are. It's not like building a car.
It's mind-boggling. Suleyman notes that the most advanced chips are, by weight, the most valuable objects on Earth. We're talking up to $10 billion per kilogram.
10 billion per kilo. That's insane.
When you factor in the R&D, yes. The ASML machines are the size of a bus. They use lasers to zap tin droplets 50,000 times a second. I mean, it's arguably the most complex thing humans have ever built.
And because only a handful of places can do it, you have a bottleneck.
And where there's a bottleneck, there's conflict. This is why he calls the U.S. export controls from October 2022 a declaration of war.
That date, October 7, 2022, is pivotal.
It is. The U.S. effectively blocked China's access to the most advanced chips. It was an attempt to use that choke point to strangle China's AI development. A massive geopolitical gamble.
And it's not just about the chips, is it? It's the power to run them. The cloud is just a bunch of loud, hot servers in a warehouse.
Right. The equation he uses is life plus intelligence times energy equals modern civilization. These data centers are incredibly thirsty for electricity. The nations that will dominate aren't just the ones with the best coders.
It's the ones who can secure the chips and generate the massive amounts of energy to keep these synthetic brains turned on.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's take stock. We have bioweapons in garages, autonomous drones, a geopolitical standoff over chips. The obvious sane question, the one I think every listener is screaming right now is, why don't we just stop?
Why don't we just pull the plug?
Yeah, why don't we just agree as a species, hey, this is too dangerous, let's not build the godlike AI.
And that brings us to the containment paradox.
Which is,
we can't stop, even if we wanted to. Suleyman argues that the incentives to keep building are so overwhelming that they just override any safety concerns. He breaks it down into 4 main drivers.
let's go through them. Why can't we stop?
First is geopolitics, the arms race. He compares the AlphaGo victory to a Sputnik moment. When that AI beat Lee Sedol, the West cheered. But in China, it was a total wake-up call.
They saw it as a strategic threat.
They did. China has a stated national goal to be the world AI leader by 2030. So it's a classic prisoner's dilemma. If the U.S. stops, China doesn't.
So the U.S. can't stop. You can't unilaterally disarm.
Exactly. The second driver is economics. We're talking about trillions of dollars in potential value. Companies have a fiduciary duty to their shareholders to make a profit. If Google pauses, Microsoft pushes forward.
There's just too much money on the table.
Third is ego. Scientists want to solve the puzzle. They want the Nobel Prize. You can't turn off human curiosity. And fourth is openness.
This is the meta leak he mentions.
Right. Meta created a powerful model, Llama. It was supposed to be restricted. It leaked via BitTorrent in days. Once the weights, the mathematical brain of the AI are out there, you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
So we're racing toward a cliff because we're afraid someone else will get there first. And Suleyman talks about this psychological trap we fall into called pessimism aversion.
This is something we're all guilty of. When the risks are so scary, like end of civilization scary, we tend to just shut down.
We say, oh, surely someone will figure it out, or we've always survived before.
It's a form of denial, and it prevents us from taking the radical action we actually need because we refuse to really look the monster in the eye.
So if we strip away the denial, where are we heading? In our last deep dive, we talked about the new space race. Suleyman draws a parallel there, doesn't he?
He does. He sees AI as the operating system for the next era of strategic dominance. Just as Sputnik divided the world into space powers and non-space powers, the wave is dividing the world into new blocks.
Those with the compute and data, and those without.
Exactly. And this leads to the ultimate dilemma of the book, the narrow path.
This is the part that kept me up at night. The Greek myth of Scylla and Charybdis steering a ship between two monsters.
It's the perfect metaphor. He argues that if we stay on our current course, we're heading toward one of 2 terrible outcomes. Monster number 1 is catastrophe.
This is the gorilla problem.
Right. We create something smarter than us, like we are to gorillas, and we lose control. Or we have uncontained tech that leads to engineered pandemics, bioterror, just total chaos.
Okay, that's bad. What's monster number 2?
Monster number 2 is the reaction to that fear, dystopia. To prevent the catastrophe, to catch the biohacker before he prints the virus, the government has to implement total surveillance.
The mega machine.
Yes.
Right.
They have to watch everything, every keystroke, every DNA sequence you order. To ensure total safety in a world of superpowered individuals, we have to submit to total control.
So the choice is accidental apocalypse or totalitarian stagnation.
It's a grim set of options, but Suleyman insists there is a narrow path between them. He believes containment must be possible.
Does he offer a map for that path?
He offers a plan. It involves heavy technical safety built directly into the code. It involves a massive audit regime. And crucially, it involves using those choke points, the chips, as a control valve.
If you control the hardware, you can regulate the software.
In theory. But he's very clear. It requires a level of global coordination we have never, ever achieved before.
It feels like we're walking a tightrope in a hurricane.
We are, but as he says, the first step is just admitting the rope is there. We have to overcome that pessimism aversion.
I want to leave the listener with one final thought from the book that I'm still chewing on. It's the concept of the off switch.
The ultimate safety feature.
Suleyman argues we need to build a bulletproof off switch for any civilization-altering technology. But when you really think about it, if this tech is decentralized, if it runs on millions of laptops, if it's open source.
Can you really have an off switch?
Exactly. An off switch implies centralization. It implies control.
But the very nature of the wave is that it spreads.
And if you can't turn it off, do you really control it?
That is the question of the century.
We're going to leave you there to mull that over. It's heavy stuff, but ignoring it isn't an option. Don't fall into that pessimism aversion. Stay curious, stay alert.
And thanks for diving in with us.